and you can, you know what I'm saying, kind of woo-saw yourself outside of the public opinion.
Like who they wonder who is Emery Jones? Who is Emery Jones?
Humble soul, that's who I am. Just a humble soul that just happened to have a great best friend and brother named Jay-Z as part of the story. You know? So, you know, that helps out the process, you know?
A Silent King, Music, just issued a final notice, and someone's career is now hanging by a thread. Everyone thought this was just another messy rap feud between 50 Cent and T.I, loud online and harmless offline, until a private message allegedly sent by Jay-Z detonated behind closed doors. Music, word spread fast. Insiders say Jay-Z told T.I to fix his house after King Harris crossed an unthinkable line by mocking 50 Cent's late mother. Emergency calls inside T.I.'s camp reportedly followed within hours. This erupted after 50 Cent dropped the Power Origins theme on March 6, Music, taunting the family and floating a docu-series targeting past assault accusations, Music, while T.I admitted on air that the t-shirt referencing 50 Cent's mother was enough. Meanwhile, Jay-Z himself sits under fresh scrutiny, named Music, in an FBI tip within the Epstein file release, and is also battling a $119,000 paternity judgment. Music. So why does 50 Cent suddenly scrub posts? And why does Jay-Z move now, of all moments? Because this isn't about lyrics anymore. It's about control, music, leverage, and who gets erased next. And this is where the surface version starts to fracture. Music. Publicly, it looks like another messy escalation between 50 Cent and T.I, fueled by ego and social media theatrics. Music. On March 6, 50 Cent drops the Power Origins theme and folds T.I, Tiny, and even their sons into his lyrics, referencing past assault accusations the Music couple has denied for years. He posts their image alongside a warning, "They are, Music, going to learn to leave me alone." That line lands harder because of the context. Weeks earlier, he hinted at developing a docu-series revisiting those same allegations, pointing to his previous streaming project about Diddy as Music, proof he knows how to turn controversy into long-form exposure. When he adds that T.I might want to consult Crisis PR, it stops sounding like trolling and starts sounding procedural. Insiders say that's when the temperature shifted. Music, a diss track can fade, a documentary series does not. Then King Harris jumps in, and everything tilts. Music, he isn't just trading bars, he escalates the personal stakes by targeting 50 Cent's late mother, even wearing a shirt tied to imagery referencing her grave. T.I later acknowledges in an interview that when he saw that shirt, he said, "Music, that's enough." The admission is subtle but seismic. He also says he spent time trying to get his son off the ledge, framing Music it as parental correction, but the timeline doesn't feel clean. The shirt circulates. Screenshots spread. Reaction builds. Only after that does T.I publicly draw a line. Music, people close to the situation insist he's protecting his household. Others whisper he's reacting to pressure that had already reached him privately, because once a parent admits a boundary was crossed, the question becomes, who demanded that boundary be restored?
Able to do that if it wasn't for Family Hustle.
Right.
And it does come with some, you know, it's some adversity. There's some adversity to come with that. People get in your bed.
Here's where the pattern matters. 50 Cent doesn't respond to every insult with a verse. He's been leaning into long-form storytelling as leverage. His Diddy docu-series streams while Diddy sits inside a federal facility, serving a 50-month sentence after a July conviction on transportation-related charges tied, Music, to orchestrated private gatherings. The Bureau of Prisons updates his release date more than once, Music, moving it to April 25, 2028. That public unraveling plays out while 50 Cent, Music, posts clips, memes, and behind-the-scenes footage. Industry sources say the lesson is obvious. When he shifts from trolling to production mode, reputations buckle. So when he floats the idea of a project centered on T.I and Tiny's past allegations, the threat feels surgical. Music. And that's before King Harris drags a grave into it. That's before a silent mogul allegedly decides the balance is off.
I think that they don't want, if they was in any of those freak-off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions, they don't want it to get out to the general public to make.
T.I. insists he's here to defend, not defeat. He says he raised his sons to be logical and reasonable, and that he doesn't enjoy them entering the feud, but the friction between words and optics, music, is hard to ignore. Multiple diss tracks roll out, including the right one, where he unloads on 50 Cent's character and, music, family. His sons also record their own responses. Meanwhile, 50 Cent's reaction shifts in tone. At first, he mocks, posts, and jabs, then he deletes. Posts referencing Tiny disappear from his feed. Music, the loudest provocateur in the room, suddenly scrubs evidence. That's not how he usually plays it. Music. People watching closely note the pivot. They ask whether someone told him to recalibrate, or whether he's simply conserving ammunition for a format that doesn't require daily engagement. Silence in this circle can signal strategy rather than retreat. Now add Jay-Z's positioning to the mix, and the geometry changes again. At the same time, music, this feud escalates. His name surfaces inside an FBI intake report tied to the latest Epstein file, music, release, not from personal records, but from a public tip that is archived and later made visible. Music. He wins a $119,000 judgment in a paternity harassment case in California, with the judge ruling that the plaintiff shall take, music, nothing. Nicki Minaj publicly claims she is owed between $100 and $200 million related to Tidal, posting calculations and demanding, music, a settlement. 50 Cent himself mocks an old lyric about a young girl and posts imagery linking Jay-Z to Diddy. So when insiders say Jay-Z privately instructed T.I. to fix his house, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. Music, it happens while Jay-Z's own perimeter is under scrutiny. That timing feels deliberate to some and defensive to others.
But there are people who have been indicted in the public space, and it hasn't been true. And so I think Jay-Z's tone was exactly. But see, I saw Puffy say the same, and then a video came out.
Yeah. Yeah.
The official read is simple: a father, music, corrects his son after a disrespectful move, and a feud cools down. Music, but that simplicity cracks when you line up the moves. 50 Cent threatens exposure through a docuseries. King Harris escalates to a personal insult tied to a tragic event from 50 Cent's childhood. T.I. in music admits the line was crossed. 50 Cent scrubs posts. Jay-Z allegedly intervenes. Emergency conversations follow. Music. People close to T.I. say there are back-to-back meetings with management and publicists. Music, they discuss brand preservation and tour commitments. T.I. is charting again with Let Them Know, cracking the top 40 for the first time in over a decade. A new music album, Defeat the King, is slated for April. That timing matters. A documentary, music, cloud hanging over that release does not. So, is this about principle, or about preventing a collision between rollout and exposure? Here's where it bends further. T.I. says on air that he treats people the way he wants to be treated, that he is big on respect. Yet the feud escalates for weeks before he publicly reins, music, it in. 50 Cent claims he is not responding to old rappers still trying to battle rap, music, framing himself above the lyrical exchange, but he continues to seed the idea of long-form retaliation. Jay-Z has historically avoided direct engagement, music, with 50 Cent, even when mocked. Yet now, according to insiders, he intervenes, not publicly, but directly. Music. If he truly views this as beneath him, why step in at all? And if he, music, sees it as a threat to the culture, why wait until a shirt referencing a mother's grave circulates? That delay raises questions about thresholds. It suggests there are internal red lines that remain invisible until someone crosses them.
was like, please let this guy go away. So, that's just the nature of rap. It's competitive, and, every time you go out there, you're putting your career on the line.
And there is another layer people are careful not to say too loudly. Music. 50 Cent's Diddy project proves he can acquire footage, secure interviews, and package music, decades of whispers into something that streams globally. He jokes about sources, but he never denies having them. If the music, he decides to focus that machinery on T.I and Tiny, the conversation shifts from lyrical insults to archived allegations. Jay-Z has built an empire on brand control and strategic, music, distance. If a feud spirals into an industry-wide exposure cycle, collateral damage becomes unpredictable. Insiders say that is the real music fear, not a song, not a meme, but a cascading series that reopens old accusations and drags other names into the frame. Music, when King Harris targets 50 Cent's mother, it does not just insult a man, it destabilizes the unwritten code that keeps rivalries within certain bounds. Once that code cracks, retaliation is no longer predictable.
There's a lot of people, 50, I feel like he don't have to say nothing, but 50's crazy. He's been like this his whole life. When he's on the block, 50's coming.
So, the story everyone sees is loud and messy. The story circulating in quieter rooms is about leverage and containment. Music, T.I appears to correct his son. 50 Cent appears to pivot. Jay-Z allegedly applies pressure without spectacle. Yet none of the central questions settle. Why does 50 Cent's feed shift so abruptly? Why does Jay-Z choose this exact moment to assert order while his own name circulates through federal paperwork and public disputes? And if the warning is real, what happens if it is ignored? Music, because if this is truly about control, then someone is calculating the next move right now, and the next escalation may not look anything like a diss track.
Sometimes you receive more with not doing well than you receive. I do an excellent pitch.
We wouldn't even bring it up.
What makes this harder to dismiss is the music pattern that stretches beyond this feud. The last year proves that reputations at the top of hip-hop are no longer insulated by legacy alone. Music, when Diddy stands in court apologizing for disgusting, shameful, and sick behavior and then sits in a federal facility serving a multi-year sentence, music, the illusion of untouchability dissolves. His homes are raided. His name trends for weeks. A docu-series dissects his rise and collapse with footage that allegedly surfaces from inside his own circle. That spectacle changes how, music, every powerful figure calculates risk. Industry insiders say the lesson is brutal and simple. The era of quiet settlements and forgotten accusations is over. Music, everything can be packaged. Everything can be streamed. And once a narrative escapes into long-form exposure, it rarely returns to neutral. Against that backdrop, a feud that drifts into personal territory stops being noise and starts looking like a fuse. Now place Jay-Z inside that environment. Music, he is not just another veteran rapper, he is an architect of corporate alliances, stadium tours, and league partnerships. He is the co-founder of Roc Nation Music, a company that negotiates with the NFL and controls high-profile brand deals. When Nicki Minaj publicly claims she is owed between $100 and $200 million tied to title sale to Jack Dorsey's company, she is not just venting, she is challenging the math of an empire. When she tags Jay-Z while alleging sabotage and unpaid royalties, the dispute spills into public consciousness. Music, the same week, his name appears in connection to a public tip within a massive FBI document release tied to Epstein. The report itself does not accuse him of confirmed wrongdoing, but the headline alone is combustible. Music, in that climate, stepping into someone else's chaos is either reckless or calculated, and insiders insist Jay-Z rarely acts without a ledger in mind.
Sean had to take responsibility for what he did as an individual. Sean is the one who pulled that gun out. Sean is the one who shot. So he has to take responsibility for that.
That is why some industry watchers are not reading this as loyalty to 50 Cent. They are reading it as perimeter defense. If music, 50 Cent continues pivoting from diss tracks to serialized storytelling, and if T.I.'s household remains in open conflict, the risk does not stay contained to one family. 50 Cent has already demonstrated that he can align with streaming platforms, music, secure exclusive audio, and narrate a rival's downfall as entertainment. Music, he jokes about sources, but he protects them. He laughs about not revealing how footage surfaces. The music, subtext is power. If he ever decides to widen his lens beyond T.I. and Tiny, who else ends up in the frame? That question does not need an answer to create pressure. Music, it simply needs to exist. And right now, it exists loudly, music, enough that phones are ringing in more than one camp.
I think he said that, right? He said it pushed him down some steps. Right. But sometimes I'll be like, 50, you on a whole nother level where you don't have to respond.
You don't have to respond to everything.
To certain people or say certain things, like Meech or Little Meech, or Ross or Dave Blunts, because these guys are not doing what you're doing. They're not going on tour. They can't even, some of these guys can't even, let's keep it real, can't make it.
Meanwhile, T.I. is navigating his own fragile equilibrium. Music, he is charting again after more than a decade outside the top tier. He is preparing a project titled Defeat the King, a name that suddenly reads less like bravado and more like a provocation. Music. His public posture is controlled. He frames himself as a defender, not an aggressor. But the optics of his son, King Harris, escalating to personal disrespect complicate that narrative. Music. Corporate partners are not sentimental, they are risk-averse. Industry executives do not differentiate between lyrical theatrics and reputational volatility when brand value is involved. People close to T.I. say that in music, conversations behind closed doors are about maintaining momentum without inviting additional scrutiny. Yet scrutiny is already here. Music. The more he tries to compartmentalize the feud, the more it bleeds into broader questions about leadership and oversight within his own circle. And then there is 50 Cent, who appears to thrive in music chaos. He has been trolling publicly for years, but the stakes have shifted. Music. His mockery of Jay-Z's old lyric about a young girl and his posts linking Jay-Z to Diddy are not random jabs. They are reminders that he is willing to poke at any vulnerability. Music. When he posts an AI-generated video implying legal trouble for rivals, music, he tests the boundaries of satire and insinuation. He moves between humor and menace with ease. Music, but when he deletes certain posts tied to the Harris family, the move stands out precisely because it is not his typical posture. Is music that restraint a courtesy extended after a private call? Or is it strategic patience before a larger play? Music. The absence of noise can be just as telling as noise itself, especially when it comes from someone who usually prefers volume.
When 50 jumped on the stage with Jay-Z, Diddy, T.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was fun.
So what's going through your mind? You like 50 done lost his damn mind.
Crazy.
Another layer complicates the equation: generational optics. Music, hip-hop has always balanced bravado with codes of conduct, especially around family and, music, tragedy. Veterans speak about boundaries even while trading insults. When, music, those boundaries blur, the elders react, not because they are sentimental, but because stability depends on predictability. King Harris embodies a generation raised within music, fame, social media, and instant retaliation. The language of shock is normalized. But older power brokers operate on longer timelines. They calculate over quarters, music, and years, not hours. If Jay-Z truly intervenes, it signals a refusal to let a younger voice redefine the rules. It signals that hierarchy still exists, even if it is rarely acknowledged publicly. And that hierarchy does not respond to tweets. It responds to breaches of decorum that, music, threaten collective leverage. Consider also how quickly narratives metastasize. A shirt circulates online and becomes a symbol. Music, a lyric is dissected and reframed. A court filing surfaces and morphs into a headline. music, the velocity of amplification is relentless. When Diddy writes a letter to a judge saying he is scared to the core and begging for mercy, the phrase becomes a meme, then a cautionary tale. When prosecutors describe him as unrepentant, it becomes music, part of his brand, whether he likes it or not. No one at the top can ignore that transformation. So when an insult targets a grave and a mogul allegedly responds with a quiet directive of music, it is not just about feelings. It is about controlling the narrative before it controls you. It is about deciding which conflicts escalate and which are suffocated before they mature. Here is the unsettling part. The official storyline still presents this as contained music, a feud, a correction, a pause. But containment requires cooperation from all sides. If 50 Cent decides containment is boring, he has the infrastructure to break it open. If T.I miscalculates the appetite for controversy around his upcoming releases, he risks colliding art with accusation. If Jay-Z's involvement leaks further, it reshapes his image as a detached strategist into an active enforcer. Each of those scenarios carries collateral consequences. Sponsorships reconsider. Partnerships hesitate. Investors reassess. The culture watches, not just for bars, but for fallout. And in the current climate, fallout is rarely limited to the original participants. So where does that leave the hierarchy everyone pretends is theoretical? If Jay-Z intervenes once, does that set a precedent for future breaches? Music. If 50 Cent's pivot to documentary-style retaliation becomes standard, does that permanently alter how feuds unfold? And if T.I cannot fully insulate his household from public escalation, what does that mean for his authority beyond the microphone? These are not abstract questions. They shape contracts, distribution deals, and corporate comfort levels. The industry has just witnessed a titan lose freedom and stature in real time. No one wants to be the next headline packaged as cautionary content. The silence between statements grows heavier by the day. No explosive press conference, no televised reconciliation, just subtle shifts, deleted posts, tightened language, and rumors of private admonitions. That quiet feels strategic rather than peaceful. It feels like a recalibration happening offstage. Music and recalibrations do not occur without recognition that something is off balance. The insult toward 50 Cent's mother is not erased. The threat of serialized exposure is not withdrawn. The alleged warning from Jay-Z is not denied. Each piece remains suspended, unresolved, waiting for the next move to define its weight. So ask yourself this: is this really about respect, or is it about control of narrative territory? Music. Did Jay-Z intervene to defend a code, or to prevent a chain reaction that could spiral beyond one family? And if 50 Cent decides the story is not finished, who actually has the leverage to stop him? Drop your thoughts and theories in the comments, because this one is far from settled. Pick a side. Question the timing. Challenge the motives. The next move may not come with a warning. Stay sharp.